Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm here with two of my good friends, Commissioner Wade Smith from Majesty's Customs and Leslie Leadsom, Deputy Commissioner. Welcome to Spotlight, my brothers.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, man. 40 years of customs. That's 40 years from when? Right? That's like...
On the 1st of July, 1975.
Okay. So what happened before? What happened before that? I didn't want to put you on the spot, but
prior to that, we was a unit under the Treasury.
Okay. It wasn't like your own separate department.
No, it was a unit under the Treasury Department. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So then, in 1975, you became a body of yourself.
Yeah.
But in your department under what portfolio?
Ministry of Finance.
Ministry of Finance. Okay. So no, you have your own department. You're not a statutory board, but your own department under the Ministry of Finance.
That's correct.
Okay. And what custom? What's the role of customs in the territory? What customs? Why we have a custom? Because we were just talking. I was just saying a lot of us think that custom is a humbug. Yeah. I don't want to say the word I say.
Yeah. Customs Department is a multifaceted department. Mm-hmm. Major role back in the about 40 years ago was revenue collection. Basically revenue collection. Probably one of the largest, if not the largest, revenue collecting body at the time for the government of the Virgin Islands. But the role of customs administration worldwide, and we are no different, has been continuously evolving. And we all will remember September 11, 2001, which basically changed the world forever. Yeah. And the role that customs administrations play, an integral part in border security. We're probably the primary border security agency. We have our powers extend many miles out of the border, outside the border, to protect the territory of the BVI. And we're here to facilitate legitimate trade and also, again, collect revenue, a major part of revenue for the government of the Virgin Islands.
So their whole perspective on customs changed after September 11, or it evolved from the Treasury to a department, and then in the department itself, certain things started happening?
Well, it have been changing as time changed things. And over there it have been moving slowly because the influx of cargo and all the rest of it became a more demands and on customs and all the rest of it. Hence that it was in around 1990 we realized that the manpower that we have on the land alone can't do it. We had to revert to actually extending, opening a new team called the Mobile Task Force, who can handle business on the sea. So
as the country developed, the role for custom expanded.
That's correct.
Basically.
That's how that works. Now, so you're 40 years, 1975, you come forward, you expanded, you got, but not a Coast Guard per se, but you get a dinghy to drive around on the water. Yeah. I don't want to call that dinghy, but you get a speedboat to patrol the waters, you know. Yeah.
And I must say, prior to that, we had speedboats from in like 1980, 81. We had speedboat, but those were some little well-craft, about 20 meters. But it wasn't a real mobile task force. A couple of guys that went off to Canada and do some marine training. Some of the names that came to mind is was Lincoln Fraser. You have Elvin Hodge, and also Lester Smith, and also Chenery went off to do some engineering. So that we did start something, but creating a real mobile task force came in the 90s.
And this, what is this mobile task force? What happened? What does that consist of now?
Well, before I go, I must say that you refer to our assets as dinghies, but we're very well equipped as far as high-speed interceptors for high water chase, high-speed chase on the sea. The mobile task force basically well, we say mobile task force or marine task force, comprises of approximately 7 women and men, and we're responsible for patrolling the borders of the territory. Because, as you know, Mr. Smith, the borders are very porous. It's a very porous border, so we patrol the borders. We operate based on intelligence. We work closely with a number of our international colleagues, from as far down as South America to as far as Europe and North America. And we share intelligence. We have the intelligence gathering system known as previously was the Regional Clearance System. Now it's known as the EC-Clear, which is actually the best small vessel data capturing machine in the world currently. Right. We collect vital statistics on the movements of small crafts and large craft moving, applying the territory from as far down as South America again to Europe and North America. That data is mined for intelligence purposes, which is very helpful in our fight against transnational crime.
Wow. So I mean, I was just joking with the dingy thing, you know. I know how sensitive you could get with your equipment. I realize you must have some modern equipment, but how modern? I mean, you just really give me a airful about where you have come as a customs department. And when you're talking about intelligence gathering and monitoring movements of vehicles on the water, it seems to me like you really have, I'm envisioning a sort of a command room with a lot of computers and electronic equipment, you know, radar. I mean, are we that secure? Are we that protected with radar and being able to see something coming? You know, because I was thinking about it when I was putting the show together, and I'm thinking that we have all these little islands, most of which are uninhabited, and it has to be easy to move in and out of the territory and hide. I mean, the pirates did it, right? And not only hide, but it must be difficult for you to find persons coming in and out of the territory. So how sophisticated are we given our geography and our logistical surroundings?
Well, our geography definitely makes it tougher. Makes it a challenge for our law enforcement organizations. That's why we have to. It's mission critical for us to collaborate and partner with other international bodies. And again, that's where the U.S. comes in. The French customs come in, the Dutch customs, and all the other military organizations for those particular countries come into play. Again, we gather a lot of information. We work closely with an agency out of the United States, Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico called HIDTA, H-I-D-T-A, which stands for High Intensity Drug Traffic Area, which the Virgin Islands is known as a high intensity drug traffic area. Hence, the U.S. federal government contributes a lot of resources to the region in the fight against transnational crime, human trafficking, human smuggling, and other contrabands.
Okay. So now you say you have this 7-member task force, right? How personally equipped are these people in terms of weaponry and so on? You got bigger, faster boats, and what kind of equipment they have?
Well, that's classified information, Cromwell, but we have, but we're pretty well equipped, and the Honorable Premier has been working closely with us and making sure that we have the assets and the equipment that we need, making the finances available, and also the Financial Secretary to make sure that we're well equipped. So we're pretty much equipped.
Okay. But you can you say as far as whether you have weapons? I mean, I know we have a policy where our law enforcement officials don't carry sidearms. But I was wondering whether the task force, is that something, that's something that you could divulge? I don't know.
Special operations.
Yeah, I have no intention of compromising our security.
I'm also joined with the police. And joint operation with the police.
Okay, so you have a combination. Sometimes depends on what the operation is.
Correct.
You have the customs and the police join up together,
Right.
and
And also,
carry out the
not
operation.
only, and that's the local agencies, but we also do what we call ship riders, and that would include the U.S. authority. There's a bilateral agreement with the British and the U.S. and once their vessels are in the water, we can have a rider on board, and we call it a ship rider. They can do the same with us. They can put one of their employees on our boats, and which helps us in our patrol efforts.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have good working relationship with all the neighbors.
Excellent.
And working to collaborate to protect each other's borders.
Excellent.
That's
Yes.
Okay. And of course, you're protecting us from, as you say, contraband, illegal trade, illegal operations, human smuggling,
Anti-dumping.
Anti-dumping.
You mean like people dumping sewage in
no,
garbage?
no,
When you say anti-dumping, what that means?
Yeah.
Well, when you speak about anti-dumping, it's you have major developing countries and they manufacture certain goods, and when there's too much goods of that kind in their country, they tend to dump them on the smaller developing countries at a basically reduced price.
Right.
Reduced price, and it's as you can see right now in the Caribbean, there are a number of vehicles throughout the Caribbean that's been basically dumped on the Caribbean from Japan, for example.
Yeah.
And we have to be extremely careful because after the I think it was a tsunami in Japan a few years ago, and it affected the nuclear plant,
Right.
and a great percentage of radioactive material was released, and those cars were floating in water that was contaminated with radioactive material. Those cars have been shipped through the Caribbean, and a number of them came into the Caribbean with high levels of radioactive material in them, again, which can cause cancer, etc.
Well, that certainly is, Jim. I mean, I was so far off about anti-dumping, but that is really fascinating. So how do you do that? How do you have the resources to analyze a situation like that and to prevent those types of goods and goods from coming into the country, those vehicles? Because I was thinking about buying one of those vehicles myself. And the thing is, though, is you don't hear that.
Yeah.
You don't hear that aspect of the customs operations.
But actually, when the Honorable Minister of Health found out about it, he made the resources available for us to purchase these detectors, these scanners to detect the levels of radioactive material.
Yeah.
So he was very proactive. So I must commend him for that, giving us support and making the finances available.
So when the cars come to the dock, you have your scanner,
We can scan
and
them.
you could pick up the level of radioactivity.
Right, that's correct.
And have you found cars?
No, well, we haven't detected any as yet because the importation of them since the tsunami has been pretty low.
Okay.
Yeah.
So far we could say we are safe with the cars that have been coming, and there is no excessive radioactivity detected in any of those vehicles.
That's
that have,
correct.
Yeah, we feel that
sure.
way.
Yeah.
But everyone that comes in, you have your
We have the equipment to-
equipment.
To test.
Now you also have a K9 unit, and I recall when I bought my truck, part of the custom process was the dog going around smelling the truck. Talk about your K9 unit. That's a recent, about 4 or 5 year old.
Well, that came into being in 2003.
Okay, that's
We
that
realized
old.
the influx of cargo was that high that the manpower was not sufficient to detect the various contraband, the illicit goods that are reaching our shores. And we realized to go ahead and rummage a boat will take probably 8-9 hours, as opposed to a boat that's suspected of carrying like illicit drugs like marijuana, cocaine or something like that. We realized if we introduce this unit, that it will cut the time and down
Considerably,
to
yeah.
a great deal. So that was introduced, and we contacted a canine handler in the United States who was able to facilitate us with two force canines. And just shortly after the training, and on our very first day out, was able to intercept some drugs at the post office.
Very first day
Very
out.
first day.
I would say we probably have what is considered the most successful unit in the Caribbean because of the number of detections. Our unit has done extremely well. Locally and internationally, we've lent our unit to other Caribbean countries, Anguilla, and our unit assisted them in the largest drug bust in the ports of Anguilla. The success of our unit has also piqued the curiosity of other countries, and we've had conducted training here in the BVI for other countries. Turks and Caicos came here and they trained with our canine unit. So our unit is extremely successful. It's a lot of work. It's hard work. We've had we do a number of refresher courses every quarter to keep the canines as well as the officers sharp and in tune with the latest technologies or the latest ways in concealing contraband.
The officers and the canine also have to remain certified. So if you have a case that we are able to prove that yes, these people are certified.
Okay.
Both canine and the handlers.
In terms of evidence presentation.
Yeah, right. That's correct.
Okay, that's impressive. I'm having a real education here with two of our custom officers, Commissioner Wade Smith and Deputy Commissioner Leslie Letsom. Real important information, and I mean, I'm really getting a sense of our physical national security in terms of customs, the way things coming and going in the country, and the protections that we have. And one of the things that fascinated me that you just mentioned is the anti-dumping thing. I mean, I've heard of it, but I never thought of it as a custom function. I thought when you say anti-dumping, I was thinking like more like garbage, because you hear places like Japan, for example, shipping their waste throughout the Caribbean and so on. So that's what I was thinking about. But as far as economics and health security when it comes to dumping goods and products, certainly it's impressive. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the CAP system. I need to know what that is, CAPS, because I'm not good at reading abbreviations. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And we still have a lot more to talk about. We haven't got the activities, and I knew this was going to happen. I know I was going to get all excited about the work that you're doing, and sort of not get to an important aspect of why you're here. But we're going to get to it. We got time. The show is going to 9:30, so we have some time. We're going to take a break for a word from our sponsors. Keep it locked right here to Spotlight. We'll be right back.
Spotlight is brought to you by Tortola Concrete Limited, the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, and CCT Global Communications.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm here with Commissioner Wade Smith and Deputy Commissioner Leslie Letsom of the Her Majesty's Customs, and I'm having a really good time. I don't know how good a time these brothers are having, but I'm being thoroughly educated, and I hope you are. We were talking about the K9 unit, the mobile task force. We got a flex team and a CAP system. I'm going to talk a little bit about those, and we're going to talk about all the exciting events coming up for the 40th anniversary celebration of the Customs Department, and how you relate to Customs as a traveler and as a citizen. There's a lot more information to come. The CAPS, what CAPS stand for?
CAP stands for Customs Automated Processing System. Actually, in about June of 2000, the department was involved in a diagnostic study. And out of the diagnostic study came the Customs Reform and Modernization Program.
Right.
And out of the Customs Reform and Modernization Program, which there was a steering committee, we identified the various challenges and the needs of the organization. One of the major challenges was automation and modernizing customs business processes. Prior to 2000, there was a group from the BVI which included the then Controller of Customs,
Then Deputy Controller of Customs.
Deputy Controller of Customs, and 2 customs officers.
It was Lazarus, Kevin Parson, and Delroy Jennings. Kevin Parson, who's now the broker for Lazarus Services.
Okay.
They went off around 1989 to study, but it wasn't a CAPS. It was a data processing system, but that one was Asakuda.
That was Asakuda is a system. The acronym stands for a system of customs data.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the time, there was challenges as far as automating customs business processes. Then, a number of, I guess, stakeholders
Right.
were reluctant
Yeah.
to adapt to the change.
Yeah.
In 2000, but it was continuous opportunities to try to migrate to automation. So we looked at a number of systems, including TIMS, which is Trade Information Management System, that's done by Crown agents out of the UK, and a number of other software developers. We chose IBM as our software developer, and they came and performed another diagnostic study in the BVI, where a number of stakeholders participated in the study, and we designed a system that was tailor-made to the needs of the BVI. We did not take an off-the-shelf automation system. We had one designed
Especially for your needs.
for the BVI, and it was developed in the labs in Vancouver, Canada,
Right.
where a number of our officers went and performed the test functions for a number of weeks before we brought back the system to the BVI.
Okay. And what does it do?
The system, there's 2 segments to the system: passenger declaration and trader declaration.
Right.
We've launched the passenger declaration side of CAPS a couple of years ago,
That's in 2006.
2006, and we have now launched the trader side of it, which allows for electronic submission of what was formerly known as the T12, is now the HMC 12 form. This allows us to capture vital statistics. We now utilize a new commodity coding system, which is known as the HS, harmonized system. As a matter of fact, I was reading on the news today where I think there's a recall on water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Niagara water.
Niagara water. This system will allow us to see who the importers are, able to track where it's coming from, and if the lot number fits the lot number that we have in the BVI, and we'll be able to track it and pull it off the shelf before anyone gets hurt.
So you have all that information already in your database, and so now that we've heard about this contamination, I think is Ebola.
E. coli.
E. coli, yeah, E. coli, right? E. coli.
E. coli.
E. coli bacteria, right?
Yeah.
So now that you heard this, you could go to your system and see if the batch number that they're talking about with the contamination matches anything that we've imported over the last several months.
Yeah.
Yes.
First of all, we identify who's importing that particular item.
And,
Hence, we then go down to the batch number.
So then-
Importer, the supplier.
And
So-
supplier.
So customs can then go to Rotom Wholesale, One Mat, or whoever, and say,
inform them.
inform that we know that you have this batch on your shelves.
Correct.
We
That's when
instruct them to identify it and remove it.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's when the system is fully functional, but we get in there.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Now you have something called the Flex team.
The FEX team came into being around the same 2003. Like I said, the influx of cargo continued to rise. And also, it's not like back in the olden days, when carriers are coming in the Boca line and the Atlantic line, where we palletized, and then you have the crane take them off pallet by pallet. We have migrated from that and come to like 70% of the cargo being imported into the territory is containerized cargo.
In containers.
And containers.
Like
Some
40 and 20 foot containers.
To be offloaded sometime on the dock, and then some you call full container load to house to house. And you have a lot of the big supermarkets and so forth, and a lot of big department stores. Then they want to go straight to the house. And we realized we had to get a team in place to make sure that we, since we can do all the work at the dock, that we have a team to go out there and make sure that all this stuff is being examined.
Okay, so what happens is that you buy a container load of goods from the U.S.
Right.
It comes in, and instead of customs going through the container on the dock,
Right.
a hauler comes up, takes the container to one mat.
But not so fast. You gotta go through the process first.
Okay.
We gotta make sure that the documents presented to the customs and is authentic, and we make sure that the duty is safeguard.
Okay. Yeah. But
then
the
you
inspection,
get
but the actual inspection could be done on their side.
On their side, yeah.
Okay.
But it's important to note also that when before the container leaves the dock, the container is sealed
Yeah.
by customs. There's a plastic seal that's placed on the container.
Okay.
And once it gets to your facility, it's important that customs officer is there to remove
The
that
seal.
seal. Because if it's removed without a customs officer being there, it's a serious
violation.
violation and
Yeah.
a heavy penalty.
Because it's an indication that you could have removed something,
Correct.
and escape the customs security.
Correct.
Yeah.
And what's presented to customs, it's important to note that what's presented on the paperwork is also what's inside the container and nothing more. If there's anything more, you should notify customs prior to the opening of the container. Make your declaration.
In addition, that the officers that are going out there must be trained in understanding basic valuations, training as to the value of goods as they're being imported, also the classification of the goods that they are clearing, that the person they classify it on the right heading, and also that the price is a fair value.
So I guess this is to prevent me bringing in a vehicle and saying, well, I can give you an invoice for $2,000 when in fact the value of the vehicle is $4,000.
Yeah,
Correct.
in a nutshell, we call it to prevent unfair trade practices.
Unfair trade practices.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And that would sound like that requires a high level of training. So persons had to go someplace to get this training, because it seems like you would have to know a lot about market prices on various goods, be able to detect.
Yeah.
Is that done electronically?
It's so much better than in the olden days when we had to wait and some had to hold the goods and things like that. You have to wait the invoices to come and call and things, as opposed to today where you can do the search.
So you put in the computer.
Yeah, in the gear. But one thing must be in mind when you come into valuation. You can't come do a valuation for a vehicle bought in St. Thomas as opposed to one bought in the United States. You have to be from the same area.
Okay, so this would make that clear for me.
What we are saying that if you buying a vehicle in Miami from a particular dealer and buying it from one in St. Thomas, the variation will be a lot different.
The prices will be
a lot different.
So
you can't use the one from St. Thomas. You have to use from the same area.
So you have to use a specific location for the evaluation.
Right.
Okay.
You have to use that. Yeah, that's a guy. And time is an essence. The time when it's being imported is very important, because sometimes you have a vehicle come in. Where we're in June, the new 2016 might be out. But when you come next year, 2016, in May, you have rebates. Also, what might have been $50,000 in June, in June of 2015 might be 45,000 in May
in
of 2016. The same way because there's a rebate. So all have taken consideration. But in the essence of valuation, there's a time frame that you use on 90 days backward and forward. Time frame is important.
Yeah, that was a big job.
Yeah.
Yeah, a big job. But I mean, it's great that our little country has reached to the level where we have, you know, modern equipment and especially trained personnel. Because it seems to me like it requires some important human resource development.
You see, I might add also that our relationship with other countries is not only for drug trafficking or fighting, combating drug trafficking, etc. It's also for the fight against commercial fraud.
Yeah.
So if we have an importer that's presenting fraudulent documents, we can verify with other countries,
Right.
and we have done it in the past,
Yeah.
and we've received all the correct information from the countries of origin. And in that case, the importer could be faced with a fine of up to 3 times the value of the goods that they're trying to evade customs duty with.
And so, in essence, you're protecting our businesses and thus protecting our economy.
Right.
Correct.
Unfair trade practice.
Yeah, because that is a part of our national security, our economy.
That's correct.
Yeah, yeah, that's it's important. I mean, people need to know this stuff, man. This is really
Also,
really
you focus on the money laundering part of it too.
And how so?
You realize that some people can go out there and buy vehicles, cash money, bring it in, and make that money clean by getting the sell on the street, put the money in the bank, say it's all a car, and that kind of stuff. It might not be real, genuine money or what kind.
So you take money from ill-gotten gains, and you purchase a product,
Yeah.
and then when you bring it in, you sell it, and you get the money back,
Yeah.
and that money that comes back comes back as
Clean money.
clean money.
And
FIA,
Yeah.
the customs is a part of the Financial Investigative Agency. We're board members of the FIA,
right.
and we have an officer that's seconded to the FIA as well.
Okay, we're gonna take a break, and we're gonna come back, and we're gonna talk about the celebration
Yeah.
of I think it's a week of celebrations of Customs 40th anniversary, all the activities that's coming up. Then we're gonna talk some about the mundane stuff that the people like me want to know when I go abroad. Because a lot of people accuse customs officers and law enforcement officers generally as persons who are not friendly, and they're always serious, and they always sort of like create an aura of fear in the people that they are dealing with, and we want to talk a little bit about that. Can you be a little? Yes, we still on. Can you be a little friendlier? We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna take a break. I just set it up now, but we're gonna take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk some about, of course, the activities coming up for the celebration and some of the other things that we need to know as citizens. Keep it locked by the Spotlight. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Spotlight is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands and CCT Global Communications.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm having a fantastic conversation with Commissioner Wade Smith and Deputy Commissioner Leslie Lessam of Her Majesty's Customs. I mean, I don't know about you, but there's a whole lot of information that we're getting tonight that I didn't know certainly and never heard of before, and the importance of this information, the important role that our Customs Department play in our safety, our protection, whether it's from diseases, whether it's from drugs, illicit trade, protection of our economy. We need to start giving these guys some respect. Seriously, I had no idea, so I'm really glad to have had them on. on the program tonight. I have the phone lines open. I don't usually open the phones, but anybody feel like they want to ask a question, they want to make a comment, they want to pay a compliment, give some encouragement to our custom officers, feel free to call us. The phone number is on the screen, 499-1949, and we'd be happy to take your call. 40th anniversary, and as you heard, we've come a long way. Thank you for calling Spotlight. Go right ahead, please.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
I want to compliment the guys of a wonderful job they're doing. As a first homeowner that takes advantage of the first homeowner exemption, I think it's wonderful. I just have a suggestion to make. I was wondering if...
Talk a little louder. I'm not hearing you well.
I was wondering if you could create a unit where people can come and do their declaration. I take my declaration to other persons. They do it incorrect. I bring it down to customs department, and then I have to go and come. I don't think they should do it for free. I think they should do it for a fee. But it's really annoying. But again, you said you couldn't hear me earlier. I want to compliment the department for the good work that they are doing. I recognize it.
Well, thank you very much for that call.
Thank you.
No, she had a concern.
Yeah, she was talking about the declaration that she had to fill out in the challenges.
Yeah, and also a unit to deal with that, to assist.
To assist, yeah.
No, we Carla, you there?
She gone, yeah.
Yeah, Carla, if you're listening, we have a group that does what you're talking about. We have the custom headquarters. You can call 468-6800, and we have the leader of that team is Mr. Gerald Fleming. He's very helpful. So if you need any little training or anything like that, you call him, and he will make time to see you, or you can come to your office, or you can come to our office, and we can give you basic training as to how to fill out those documents. Yeah. It's not a thing you learn overnight, but it's continuous training and continuous learning. But he can give you the basic so that you can go ahead and do your small entries. And as you go, you'll be able to do the big ones.
That has been a source of contention for you, I'm sure, for many years.
Yeah.
Is there have you been moving any closer towards the simplification of the declaration process? Like with the new technology, is there any way we could simplify that process, get the information that we need, and still have people able to comfortably make their declarations, fill out the forms and so on?
Well, actually, it has been simplified with the enactment of the 2010 Customs Management and Duties Act, which allowed us to fully utilize the harmonized system. That has helped us to create the new form that we're using, and it has simplified it. When you punch in the classification code or description of the goods, the classification code automatically pops up. Mm-hmm. Like when you're using your handheld device and you start to type a word, the word is completed by the system.
Yeah.
And that's the same effect that you have with the system that we use right now. Yeah. Once you punch in the code shirt or you punch in the description, the number pops up. So it is simplified.
So that's like
and just to add that, after you fully understand the system, fully evolve to what's going on with the system, you're registered and you're in there, you can stay at the comfort of your own home, prepare your entry, and just hit a button and submit it to customs. So while you're sleeping, just your entries at customs.
And then you just go in and by the time you get there, it's processed. That speeds up the process.
No, it goes through a process. And when the officers, sometimes the officers have to check it, just do, because all the mathematics is done by the system. Mm-hmm. It's just to make sure that the classification is right, the evaluation within guidelines, and then the officer will just release it and then send you back
a text message.
A text message saying what amount you have to come to pay customs. And we even intend to go even further than that, so that when things is fully organized, that you could just send your entry in. If you have a credit system with us, that's the direction we're going, that you could pay online, and then all you have to send your guys pick up your stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the direction we're heading.
How far off you from? How far away are you from that?
I would say we should be there. We should be there probably within the next year or so.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, the theme for this year's celebration, your 40th anniversary celebration, before we get into other things and we forget to talk about the celebration.
Well, the theme is,
I'm all excited about what's going on in customs.
But before you go, Carl, I hope we answered your question. And if we didn't answer your question, you can always call us tomorrow morning or come by the head office and pay a visit to any one of the commissioners, and we'll be glad to help you.
Okay. And we have an open house.
And we're having
an open house. So we're going to get start the open house.
Yes.
Start the open house. So people could come by and get a lot of questions answered and help with the
That's correct.
get shown the processes and what actually happens.
That's correct.
let me go.
So, go ahead.
The theme for this year, for this 40th anniversary is reflection throughout 40 years, revenue collection, continuous reform, and modernization. That's a tall order.
That's
a great role.
Yeah.
And we have come a long way. From 1975 to now, we have been through 1 controller, 2 controller, 3 controller, 4 controller, 1 commissioner. 1975 we had Basil Blake. Basil Blake was our first controller. He served from 1983 until 1975, until 1983. Then we had Mr. Andrew Cedofred, who served from 1983 until 1991. And 1991, we had our first female controller in the person of Miss Kata Smith. She was our first controller of customs, and
first female controller of customs.
First female controller of customs, and she served from 1991 until 2003. Then came on board Mr. Wade Smith, our fourth controller of customs, who served from 2003 as controller until 2010, and got upgraded. Yeah, thank you for that. Got upgraded in 2010 to commissioner to present. Also, on that trail, we were guided by some able ministers of government who have helped us to get us where we are today. So we started with Mr. Willard Whitley in 1975, and we also then on to Mr. Honorable H. Larry Stout, 1979 to 1983. Then we had Mr. Honorable C.B. Romney, who came in 1983 to 1986. And then 1986 to 1995, we had Mr. Honorable Liberty Stout as the Minister responsible for the subject. And from 1995 until 2003, we had the Honorable R.T. O'Neill. I forgot to mention that some of those ministers are deceased, but we are aware of that. And from 2003 until 2007, we had the minister responsible for the subject was Mr. Ronnie Skelton. And from 2007, down to 2011, we had Mr. R.T. O'Neill responsible for the subject. And from 2011 to present, we have our premier, the Dr. D. Orlando Smith. And we must say a great thank you, not only to the ministers, but also to the commissioners and the controllers who have brought us to this stage. To them we must say a hearty thank you for that leadership.
Yes.
And
yes,
the job. Also we had a series of finance secretary. We had we came through. I can't remember all the years, but we saw under Mr. Robert McTavius as finance secretary. We had Mr. Forbes, what was his name? Glenn Roy. Mr. Glenn Roy Forbes as our finance secretary. We also had Mr. Alan Whitley as our finance secretary. and now Mr. Neil Smith. They all did a fabulous job.
You're the historian in the
What's the story?
in the historian
so
in the department.
Yeah.
But the job is not finished. It's a tough one. But what we want to do is not become complacent. We want to try to keep pushing on.
Keep
Keep
going
pushing
forward.
on.
Yeah.
And trying to find a better way.
To
Always find a better way.
for the process.
No, sometimes we think we have a perfect system, but there's always a better way. So we continuously looking a better way to bring this little nation, keep this little nation up the way it is.
Moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's happening now for the week of celebrations?
The week of celebration starts on the 12th of July with a church service at the Roton Baptist Church, the upper Main Street, upper head of Main Street.
Faith Baptist
Faith
Church.
Baptist Church, thank you for correction. Faith Baptist Church on the 12th. Then the Monday, from Monday to Friday, we have some activities on the at the radio station, and also on through the government website, through the GIS and everything. We'll have Almanac.
So you're gonna be bringing information.
Information,
on the
explaining
radio.
who was this, who was deputy, who was controller from what time, and we have some little questions that we'll be showing over to the public. And also on the 17th, leading up to the ball, we'll have an open house at the headquarters.
And the headquarters is located.
We're right in the Richard Stout building, right next to the
same
festival ground.
The same building as the House of Assembly.
Same building, that's correct.
Yeah.
Same building, House of Assembly.
And that's on the top floors.
We're on the
Third
top
floor.
The top floor.
The third floor.
And on that day, we will be interacting with the public and the people who are concerned about what we do.
And all the questions could be
All the questions
answered.
could be answered, and we want to
And
use
we're
that.
looking for suggestions on how to improve
How
as
to improve
well.
the service as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Right.
And that starts at 10 a.m. in the morning and it goes to 3
3 o'clock. Yeah.
to 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the big event, which everybody is coming to, is on July the 18th. That's a Saturday?
That's Saturday. Yeah. At
The
Prospect
Saturday night
Reef.
at Prospect Reef, Callaloo Restaurant.
Callaloo Restaurant. Yeah.
At 9 o'clock till 2 o'clock, the Masquerade Ball.
Yeah.
And the tickets are only $25,
Only
which is cheap. And you could get them. Where you could get your tickets? The custom headquarters.
Custom headquarters.
Custom
GNC.
GNC departments. GNC trading.
and Virgin Guard.
Custom Virgin Guard.
Custom Virgin Guard.
And any other the custom officers.
Okay. And yeah, $25 is a small price to pay.
It's not all about the money. We just want them to come and have a good time.
Have a good time. You know the band who provide the music.
Cool session.
Cool Session Brass. That's
Cool Session Brass, and we have DJ Borchan bringing up the rest.
okay. So there's not. I think this is what the second or the third time in a row. It's been Cool Session.
We've been using Cool
Cool Session
Session
for a
for the Customs annual ball.
Right.
annual bar.
But we haven't had an annual ball in about 2 or 3 years. And
Okay.
we said we'll leave it until the 40th
Yeah.
to have a grand ball.
A grand bar. Yeah.
Bearing in mind that just 5 years ago we had the 35th anniversary. That was a badass also.
Yeah.
And also during the 40th, we also we're preparing a booklet so that the public can get a little peep of our history, how we have transcended to present.
Okay, so you're going. So a lot of the information that we've been talking about
A lot of
tonight
it be in the booklet.
It's going to be
Be in the
it's going to be in the
booklet.
booklet. The history, the evolution of the Customs Department
Yeah.
from 1975 to present,
Right.
the services that you provide,
Yeah.
how you develop the technology and so on that you employ, and all of that.
That's right.
It's going to be in the booklet. And is the booklet going to be given out free, or there's going to be a small charge for the booklet?
No, there's no fee at the moment. No.
No fee for the
No fee,
booklet.
no.
And so how and where will it be distributed? The booklet.
At the
We're trying to
headquarters.
get the booklet finished for the force. Is a lot of work. If we have to push it back for a week or two, we need to do that. Because we prefer to do that and to come up with a booklet that have some errors. We want to make sure all the glitches are out, all the proofreading is done, and information is solid before we release the book. But we are gearing towards the force. But
And it'll be
kind of tight.
and you could pick one up at the custom headquarters.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Yes, indeed. the phone lines are open if anybody wants to call. Having, of course, a fantastic conversation with the Commissioner of Customs and the Deputy Commissioner, Wade Smith and Leslie Letsom. And if you've just joined us, you've missed great discussion on the evolution of customs from 1975 to present, all the things that happen, the new technology that is being employed to protect us. And we really have to give these guys a lot of respect and admiration for the work that they do. Some of it is a lot of dangerous work. You might think of it as just collecting revenue and, you know, just monitoring the ports and so on, but it's a lot of dangerous work that they do, and we need to really support them. Thank you very much for calling. Spotlight, right ahead, please. Speak into your phone and as loudly as you can so we can hear you. You're on Spotlight.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Smith.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Mr. Smith.
Good
So we
evening.
have another Smith there, another
You got
side.
two Smith and a Letsom.
Yeah.
I want to say congratulations to Customs.
Thank you.
You know, what we have learned tonight is very, very important. A lot of information you passed out tonight that we didn't know about, and these guys are really doing a lot to protect this country. And we should show our respect to them. It is very good, and I trust that they will have a good week, and everything will go good for them.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for the call.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that.
Thanks for your support. Yes.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Yes, indeed. That's a nice.
Yes, because all you were talking about, some the people don't want to face custom because of they feel that way.
Yeah. And I think they, you know, knowing, I think getting a sense of the work that you do, I think should go away towards, you know, dissipating that fear and being able to understand that there's an important job that you're doing, and if you're serious about the job, and you can't be laughing like me all the time, you know. I mean, you'll smile once in a while, but you got to be focused on what it is you're doing. You got to be thinking on what you might find and all that kind of stuff. So it's difficult to be all hyped up, but you know.
And
I'd like to say also we're implementing, or we have implemented, a new unit within the department called the Courier Compliance Unit. And that unit deals specifically with the couriers in the BVA. The couriers are responsible right now for approximately 30 to 35% of all imports into the BVA, and we thought it would be extremely important and mission critical to develop a unit that deals specifically with that group of importers.
And when you're talking about the shippers like Federal Express, DHL, Sprint, UPS,
Tatol Express. Correct.
Okay.
And some other smaller ones as well. And we basically want to make sure that they all operating on a level playing field, and we're working closely with them to develop policies and procedures that will facilitate legitimate trade. It's important, it's very important now, as you know, in the United States and other Caribbean countries have had basically legalized marijuana.
Yes.
However, it's illegal in the BVI.
Right.
We've had to increase our searches because a great percentage of marijuana is being shipped through the mail-in services. A number of travelers that comes from from states and countries where it is legalized, they're coming into the BVI assuming, or for whatever reason, they believe that it's
the policies are at least relaxed. Yes.
And we've had a number of travelers who have been taken to the courts and have paid substantial fines as recent as last week.
Yeah.
There was a traveler coming out of the U.S. Virgin Islands. He had a quantity of marijuana.
Yeah.
I think he was fined about $5,000.
That's correct.
$5,000 by the magistrate. So the officers will be doing increased searches. It's not to frustrate anyone, but it's basically to protect our travelers, our visitors, and our residents of the BVI.
Absolutely. Now, when people come to the ports, what authority does customs have? I mean, what should I expect from a custom officer, and what rights do I have as a traveler or a citizen?
Okay, I'll let the Deputy Commissioner in charge of enforcement, Mr. Letson, speak to that.
When you arrive, you have all rights. You are right to travel to the Virgin Islands. We at the forefront must be trained. We must be able to strike a balance. We must be able to say, based on the line of question, who are we dealing with? Are we dealing with a visitor? Are we dealing with a resident? And as the question has been answered, then you know how you can proceed.
You already got the criminal.
And that too, but
somebody intent on breaking the law.
And we have to strike a balance, because we are law enforcement officers. We are also tax collectors. We are border protection officers also, and we also responsible to.
So forgive me for interrupting you, Carlo. I'll let you the clock. The question, I think it's important for us to know that the question is not to harass us.
Not to harass us, to welcome and strike about by welcoming, and also be able to
getting a sense of the legitimacy of your visit, and that you come in with a good intent to the country and not to harm the people of the country.
You identify whether you're just a visitor or you're just somebody who in the shop and you bring back some goods that you make some custom revenue.
Of course, we have in every barrel of apple you're gonna find one or two while got a little blemish here and there. So customer officers that perhaps, I don't know whether they're overzealous or might have a challenge in the morning leaving home or something, might act a little funny during the course of the administration of their duty. What redress do I have? How do I handle a situation where I think a custom officer is perhaps acting a little out of how he should be acting, or infringing on what I perceive to be my rights?
Well, first I would encourage a call. But equally important is to have it in writing.
Right.
And once we receive it in writing, then we meet with the officer. And if it repeats itself and continuously repeats itself, which we've had cases of that, then we will make recommendations to the Department of Human Resources for that particular officer. But what we try to do is we try to have a number of customer service training, and that has been done in the past by the Tourist Board, Training Division.
This program.
So we try to do those type of training to make sure that officers are well trained to deal with the customers or the visitors to the BVI.
Okay. But in some instances, not always the officer falls. Sometimes you realize that the person who is saying they're being harassed did not really understand the system, and when you really educate them as to what should take place, and the officer was really trying to do the job, sometimes you get a good compromise.
You help visitors and travelers, the citizens and travelers alike, who sometimes got problems of their own. And they bring that with them. Well, we follow at 3 o'clock. It's been a great conversation, and you guys don't stay away so long. You're celebrating your 40th anniversary on the 12th of July. You're gonna, at 11 o'clock, you're having a church service at Faith Baptist Church there on Main Street, Rotong, there, right next to Creek Keys, in that area, right there. Then on July the 17th, open house at the Customs headquarters from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then, of course, on the 18th of July, I have the annual Customs Masquerade Ball at the Callaloo Prospect Creek Restaurant from 9 to 2 p.m. Tickets are only $25. You can get it from any custom officer. You get tickets from any custom officer, the headquarters in Rotong, and the Customs Department in Virgin Gorda, and JNC Trading
Custom Officer
Limited. And of course, as part of the public education campaign, the department will be disseminating facts via various media from July 1st through the 17th. Panel will also discuss customs new policies and development for the following the units that we talk about tonight, the Flex Team, the K9 unit, the Mobile Task Force unit, training and implementation of the CAP system. So yeah, you got a whole lot going on. Anybody wants any more information about what's happening with customs can call you where?
At 468-6800, and that's at the customs headquarters. And ask for any one of us, Mr. Dean Foyle, Leslie Letson, Clinton Romney, Aubrey Forbes, Gerald Fleming, Wade Smith, and we'll be glad to help provide any assistance and clarify any questions that you may have.
That's great.
And we must say, you don't need an appointment to visit. You can come to the department at any time, and someone will be there to assist.
You have a website that Customs have a website that people can call and can log on and get information.
Yes, the government website. You go onto the government website and you click on customs. What is it? We'll get that for you.
Yeah. You got a government website, bvi.gov.bg, and then you click the custom tab.
Right. Custom tab, and you'll get the information.
Yeah. Cool. Brother Wade, Brother Leslie, it was really, really great having you on Spotlight, and keep up the good work, and have a great 40th anniversary celebration. I'm looking forward to the Masquerade Ball, and make sure everybody get their tickets. It's always a lot of fun. Get your tickets from the headquarters, the Department of Virgin Gorda and JMC Trading. It's only $25. Bring your spouse and have a good time.
But thank you very much for having us.
Thank you very much, Edwin.
Appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. Next week, the Spotlight is going to shine on the YEP program, Youth Empowerment Program, in the eastern area, the Fairfax Bay area, as well as Social Security is going to be here as well, because we have a lot of questions, a lot of important information coming out of Spotlight. Of course, Spotlight is seen Tuesdays at 8 p.m. right here on JTV, Channel 55, and rebroadcast Sundays at 2:30. Watch Spotlight on demand at jtvlive.net. Like our Facebook page. I've been getting a lot of likes. I'm enjoying that, and I'm glad that we are able to bring meaningful, important information about the organizations and the persons in the territory that's making meaningful impact in our community. So keep watching Spotlight, keep liking us on Facebook. You could find out about our upcoming guests, and you could suggest topics and guests of your own. I'm Edrenko, reminding you that when the Spotlight is on, you see the facts. Peace and blessings.
Spotlight is brought to you by Tortola Concrete Limited, the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, and CCT Global Communications.